Another person will not do you harm unless you wish it. You will be harmed at just that time at which you take yourself to be harmed. Epictetus. Realizing the potential of self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the most powerful yet underrated tools we possess as human beings. At its core, self-awareness is the ability to step back and objectively observe our own thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and motivations. It allows us to gain profound insights into who we truly are at our deepest level. When we lack self-awareness, we move through life on autopilot, acting based on ingrained habits, knee-jerk reactions, and subconscious programming from our past. We get stuck in patterns and ruts, repeating the same mistakes over and over without understanding why. Self-awareness breaks this cycle. It shines a light on our blind spots, shining light into the darkness of the unconscious mind. With self-awareness, we can identify the limiting beliefs, negative thought patterns, and self-sabotaging behaviors that hold us back. We can see when we are acting out of fear, insecurity, anger, or other toxic emotions, rather than from a place of centered presence. This makes it possible to interrupt those destructive patterns and consciously pivot in a new direction. On a deeper level, self-awareness allows us to explore the very core of our being, our values, needs, deepest desires, and fundamental sense of purpose. We can cut through the noise of society's expectations and cultural conditioning to discover our authentic selves. Self-awareness is the path to being truly responsible, conscious of the ability to choose our response to any situation, rather than just going on autopilot reactivity. The journey of self-awareness is not always easy. It requires sincere self-honesty and a willingness to stare straight into one's flaws and shortcomings without flinching. But this discomfort pales in comparison to the profound freedom, peace, and power that come from truly knowing yourself. Those who are self-aware live with greater authenticity, make decisions in alignment with their true path, and exude an unshakable centeredness. Self-awareness doesn't mean perfection. We all have flaws, struggles, and suffering that are part of the human experience. But bringing a gentle, non-judgmental awareness to these parts of ourselves is what allows us to make peace with them and ultimately transcend them. Each of us has unlimited potential for growth, but only self-awareness can show us the way. Self-awareness is the gateway to mastering our mind, emotions, and life itself. It shines light on what once was darkness, allowing us to reauthor our internal programming and write the script for how we want to experience reality. It is both the key to unshackling ourselves from habitual patterns, as well as the path to realizing our highest human potential. Cultivating this precious skill is one of the most empowering pursuits we can undertake. Emotional stability. Emotional stability is the ability to maintain a balanced, even-keeled state of mind, regardless of what circumstances or stressors come your way. It's about having resilience and poise under pressure, rather than getting thrown off course by turbulence. Those with emotional stability can roll with the punches of life without getting derailed or overwhelmed. In many ways, emotional stability starts with self-awareness. When you can observe your inner emotional landscape with mindfulness, you avoid getting hijacked by your feelings and reactions. You create space between the arising emotion and how you choose to respond to it. This prevents you from acting out in destructive, damaging ways when anger, fear, or other intense emotions arise. People with emotional stability have cultivated the skill of stepping back from heated situations and strong urges in the moment. They don't get so caught up in the charged emotion that they make rash decisions they'll later regret. Their minds remain clear and centered even amidst the chaos swirling all around. It's a kind of emotional mastery. Importantly, emotional stability isn't about suppressing or disowning one's emotions. In fact, those who are emotionally stable tend to be quite emotionally aware and literate. They can fully feel and experience their emotions. They just don't get engulfed by them or stay stuck wallowing in them. They have a perspective on feelings as temporary, passing states rather than all-consuming experiences. This grounded presence and equilibrium come in large part from having a strong locus of self-worth and security within. Those who are emotionally stable don't depend on external sources or other people's perceptions of their sense of self. Their identity is rooted in their deepest values and wisdom at their core. From this anchored place, the shifting winds of life's ups and downs cannot shake them. Another key ingredient is resilience, the ability to roll with the punches and bounce back from adversity and challenging times. People with healthy emotional stability don't get thrown into crisis mode or crumble at the first sign of difficulty. They roll up their sleeves, problem solve, and keep moving forward with a steady, calm assurance. In today's frantic, high-stress world, emotional stability is akin to being the eye of the storm, that still, tranquil point of peace amidst the whirlwind chaos spinning all around. It's a superpower, really, the capacity to stay calm, cool, and clear-headed while everything is blowing up around you. What emotional freedom! What a gift to be able to remain poised and centered no matter what life throws your way. Whether in your career, relationships, or just navigating daily life, having stability in your inner emotional landscape is profoundly empowering. It safeguards you from making fear-based decisions or acting rashly out of anger or anxiety. It allows you to stay true to your principles and integrity, even in the most challenging situations. With emotional stability, you respond to events with clarity and wisdom rather than being jerked around by runaway feelings beyond your control. Emotional stability is a skill cultivated over time through self-awareness, resilience, and commitment to personal growth. It doesn't mean never feeling anything deeply, but rather mastering the ability to pause before reacting. From this grounded place of presence, you can consciously choose how you want to respond to the ups and downs of life. What could be more powerful than that? The power of forgiveness and memory. Forgiveness and memory are two potent forces that can radically shape our experience of life and our relationships. When wielded with wisdom, they have the power to lighten our burdens, deepen our bonds with others, and help us continually grow as human beings. Let's start with forgiveness. At its core, forgiveness means making the conscious choice to let go of resentment, anger, and the desire to punish someone for the wrongs they have done. It doesn't mean approving of or excusing bad behavior, but rather releasing yourself from being shackled to the past. Forgiveness is immensely freeing on a personal level. It's like shedding a heavy backpack you've been carrying around for far too long. When we hold on to grievances, we are poisoning ourselves from the inside out. The anger, bitterness, and dwelling on past wounds only weigh us down and hold us back from living in the present moment. Forgiveness is what allows us to finally put down that unnecessary baggage and reclaim our lightness of being. It's an act of radical self-compassion. On an interpersonal level, forgiveness can be tremendously healing for damaged relationships and bonds. It allows for a line to be drawn under past transgressions so that people can move forward with a fresh start, unshackled by resentments. Real growth and deepening can then occur. Forgiveness deftly unties the knots that keep people stuck in cycles of conflict and blame. While forgiveness lets us move on from past pains, memory has the crucial role of helping us derive wisdom from our experiences so we don't repeat the same mistakes over and over. Memory is where we store the precious life lessons we've gleaned through difficulties, challenges, and failures. It's like having a deeply insightful teacher that reminds us of what to watch out for and which paths may be problematic based on previous lived experiences. Memory keeps the lessons of the past alive within us, enabling us to make better choices and protect ourselves from similar hurt in the future. It sharpens our discernment about people's character and our ability to spot red flags. Memory cultivated as wisdom helps us walk more skillfully through life by learning from our missteps, rather than blundering blindly onward. However, for memory to be a source of wisdom rather than a burden, it must be balanced with the gift of forgiveness. If we cling to every resentment and wounding experience, dwelling endlessly on hurts and injustices, then our memory weighs us down rather than enlightening the path forward. We stay trapped in cycles of hurt, and bitterness. Forgiveness is what allows us to heal enough to glean the wise lessons of the past without being consumed by pain. Ultimately, forgiveness and memory must work together as an integrated force. Memory forged into wisdom protects us, while the regular application of forgiveness keeps our hearts light and frees us to engage with life's great journey without being bogged down by toxic baggage. One allows us to course correct based on the past, while the other clears space for something new to unfold. When we forgive and yet still remember life's most profound lessons, we walk through the world with grace, compassion, strength, and the ability to continually grow. We can be both vulnerable and self-protective, soft and fiercely boundaried. We are able to let go of what weighs us down while carrying forward the precious wisdom that elevates us to our greatest human potential. Setting boundaries, investing your energy wisely. We all have a finite amount of mental, emotional, and physical energy to expend each day. It's one of our most precious resources that we must be wise stewards of. Setting healthy boundaries is essentially about consciously deciding where and with whom you will invest that precious life force rather than deplete it needlessly. Without boundaries, we become spread too thin, drained and depleted by demands, toxicity, and energy vampires that divert us from what really matters most. We get pulled into dramas, conflicts, and situations that may not even have anything to do with us simply because we haven't defined our limits. Life becomes a reactive scramble rather than a purposeful unfolding. Setting boundaries protects your time, energy, and overall well-being, so you can invest them with great intention in the areas, pursuits, and people that are truly meaningful and fulfilling. It allows you to powerfully define how you want to experience your daily life. You get to be discerning about what and who you allow across the boundaries, rather than feeling constantly imposed upon. At their heart, boundaries are an act of great self-love and honoring of your inherent worth. They communicate that you value yourself enough to vigorously protect your energy, needs, and deepest priorities. They tell the world, "This is who I am, this is what I stand for, and this is how I expect to be treated." Without that stake firmly planted in the ground, it's impossible to create a life that feels truly authentic. While the process of setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, it gets easier with practice. The most challenging part is overcoming the guilt, people-pleasing, and conflict aversion that arise when you start defining limits. We have to unlearn the unhealthy notion that saying no or creating space is somehow selfish or uncaring. Real self-care requires healthy boundaries. A beautiful thing happens when you become a master of energetic boundaries. You naturally attract quality, high-vibe people and situations into your sphere. You become a bright light that toxic people cannot orbit for long. Simultaneously, you discover vast reserves of positive energy available to invest in your deepest values, dreams, and relationships that really count. Life takes on a whole new level of empowerment, clarity, and authenticity. No longer are you constantly giving from an empty cup, resentfully saying yes to things you don't want to do, or getting entangled in petty dramas. You've taken your power back to live with healthy self-focus. Of course, boundaries must be maintained with loving compassion for yourself and others. They aren't about callous rejection or putting up rigid walls. Quite the opposite. Healthy boundaries create safer spaces for more authentic connection, deeper intimacy, and enriching shared experiences. They protect important bonds from sabotage. Steer clear of pointless arguments. In an ideal world, every disagreement could be resolved through calm, rational discourse, where both parties leave with greater understanding. Unfortunately, when dealing with toxic people, fruitless arguments and circular conflicts are more the norm than the exception. Learning to skillfully avoid these unnecessary battles is an art form that can save you infinite time, energy, and frustration. The first step is developing a keen radar for which disagreements have the potential to be productive discussions versus those that will inevitably devolve into fruitless bickering. With toxic individuals, almost any contentious topic runs the risk of quickly spiraling into an ugly argument fueled by emotional dysregulation, logical fallacies, and outright disrespect. Rational giving and taking of perspectives gets drowned out by yelling, personal attacks, and drawing immovable lines in the sand. When you sense that hostile, irrational dynamic taking over, it's best to disengage and discontinue the conversation before it turns into a soul-sucking void. Continuing to plead your point or stand your ground often only pours gasoline on the fire. The other person has no genuine interest in seeing your perspective or finding common ground. They just want to fight. Why expend your precious energy? Avoiding these no-win situations requires self-awareness to recognize when you're getting hooked on fruitless arguments. If you find yourself getting amped up, heart racing, flushed, or flooded with anger and outrage, those are red flags that you've crossed over from conversing to getting drawn into unnecessary conflict. At that point, it's wisest to remove yourself and mentally cool off before you say or do something you'll regret. This isn't about walking on eggshells or never disagreeing with toxic people. You can and should stand your ground on core issues and boundaries. The key is to pick your battles very carefully, preserving your energy for the disagreements that truly matter while letting the frivolous ones go. Ask yourself, is this specific issue worth enduring a barrage of toxic drama and button pushing? If not, it's better to withdraw from that losing game. Walking away from unnecessary arguments isn't weak. It's self-control and emotional mastery. It's about being wise and discerning about where you'll expend your energy and which battles are truly worth fighting. Toxic people often argue for argument's sake without any genuine desire for resolution. Don't take their bait. Value your time, energy, and composure too highly to fall for that fruitless trap. Of course, there will always be some arguments that are utterly unavoidable if you have toxic people in your life. In those cases, stick to facts. Speak your truth calmly and concisely, but resist any impulse to yell, name-call, or match the low-vibrational tactics. Kill them with composure. Show that you can hold your boundaries while still remaining the bigger person who simply won't engage in needless dramas. Focus your energy on being a strong, benevolent force in the world while avoiding unnecessary, draining conflicts with toxic people who have no real interest in resolution. Identification of false generosity. At its core, false cordiality is love-bombing and flattery taken to an insincere extreme. The toxic person comes on as intensely friendly, showering you with exaggerated compliments, fake laughter at your jokes, and empty gestures of care. They ply you with charm, act like your new bestie, and can seem so warm and enthusiastic that you start to let your guard down around them. But beneath that veneer lies a hidden agenda. Perhaps they want something from you to manipulate you, or they're simply getting satisfaction from deceiving you. While words and surface-level expressions are easy to fake, the human body has an array of subtle non-verbal cues that give away when someone's kindness is contrived rather than authentic. Eye contact that drifts away and feels impersonal is one red flag, since genuine care involves focused, sustained eye connection. Forced, high-pitched giggles or laughter that seems over the top can also signal phoniness. After all, real laughter emerges spontaneously as an embodied release of joy. Another key area to observe is the body's resting tension and movements. When people feel safe and at ease, their musculature naturally relaxes in a soft, fluid way. Conversely, false cordiality often presents with physical stiffness, rigidity, or overly controlled movements as the body unconsciously braces itself. Crossed arms or legs, rigid posture, and a lack of open hand gestures can give away the internal incongruence going on. Similarly, listen for vocal patterns that feel out of sync, like a barrage of high-pitched vocal tones and uptalk that feels performed and dripping with artificial enthusiasm. Watch the timing of their reactions too. Inauthentic responses often come just a beat too late as the person hurriedly tries to mirror the response you expect. Paying attention to your gut instinct is also crucial here. If something feels off about someone's niceness, there's likely a good reason your intuition is picking up on that. Perhaps their compliments seem generic rather than personalized, or their friendliness comes on so strongly that it puts you slightly on edge. Learn to trust those subtle bodily signals that say, something's not quite right here. Of course, no single behavior definitively indicates false cordiality. You have to look for patterns and combinations of cues that reveal a larger incongruence. The animated, overly effusive person who then abruptly closes off or shows irritation when you don't respond as hoped, for example. Or the friend who love bombs you one minute and then ghosts or gives you the cold shoulder the next time you speak. Those whiplash shifts in relational temperature are a common hallmark. The ability to discern false cordiality from authentic warmth allows you to sidestep many toxic situations and relational traps before you get ensnared. You can catch love bombing in its early stages, identify the frenemies and those with ulterior motives, and steer your interactions accordingly. While it's healthy to initially extend some trust, staying attuned to disconnects between words and embodied expressions can be your critical safety net. It empowers you to be warmly genuine in your response, while also protecting your boundaries from those with malicious or selfish intentions. Solution-focused methodology. When faced with challenging circumstances or toxic individuals, it's all too easy to get swept up in the drama, negativity, and emotional turmoil. We get drawn into fruitless arguments, power struggles, and a quagmire of venting frustration. While venting may provide momentary catharsis, it rarely actually resolves anything in a constructive way. This is where taking a solution-oriented approach can be a game changer. Rather than flowing reactively with anger and blame and dwelling on problems, you pivot your mindset to seek constructive solutions and positive changes you can influence. It's about showing up with purpose, creativity, and an eye on the bigger picture. At its core, a solution-focused orientation involves a few key principles. The first is realizing that the only thing you truly have control over is your own actions and responses. You can't single-handedly change others or make them see things your way, but you can change how you choose to move through a situation. This internal locus of control is empowering. From there, it's about bringing curiosity, emotional intelligence, and strategic thinking to the scenario. You ask yourself, what is the wiser, higher road here? How can I assert my boundaries while also de-escalating conflict? What small step could improve things, even marginally? What creative solutions might realign incentives or meet both parties' needs? This mindset shift doesn't mean becoming an emotionally repressed robot. You can and should still feel and process difficult feelings as they arise. The difference is that you don't get hooked on and hijacked by them. You make space to feel, then explore constructive next steps from a place of relative calm and centeredness. A big part of the solution-focused approach is excellent emotional regulation and impulse control. You don't react in the heat of a triggered moment. You hit the pause button, take a breath, and consciously choose how to respond from a bigger perspective. This buys time and creates space for resourcefulness to emerge. It also requires keen situational awareness and social intelligence. You study team dynamics, power dynamics, hidden agendas, and other social undercurrents influencing the situation. This allows you to read between the lines and identify which conversational pathways might lead somewhere productive versus those destined for conflict. Crucially, a solution-focused mindset means you must take full responsibility for your side of the equation. You look inward and ask, how might I have consciously or unconsciously contributed to this situation? What are my blind spots and counterproductive tendencies? This radical self-awareness allows you to see the logs in your own eye before judging others. Is it challenging? Absolutely. Staying solution-focused in the heat of difficult moments taxes every ounce of our willpower, wisdom, and emotional mastery. But nothing could be more rewarding than being that centered force of reason and resourcefulness that elevates circumstances rather than exacerbating them. It's how we become powerful creators and authors of our life experiences. Negative self-talk control. The voice in our heads holds remarkable power over our mindset, emotions, and even our external reality. When that inner narrator gets hijacked by harsh criticism, doubts, and limiting beliefs, it can obliterate our confidence and keep us feeling perpetually beaten down. This is especially true when dealing with toxic people who seem to have an uncanny ability to trigger our deepest insecurities. The good news is that we have the power to take control of that narrative voice and rewire it to be our champion rather than our saboteur. It starts with bringing mindful awareness to the negative self-talk as it arises. Notice the script that plays when you make a mistake around toxic people. Does your inner voice berate you mercilessly or remind you that you're still learning? Do you mentally beat yourself up as unworthy, or does your inner coach kick in to build you back up? Simply becoming aware of the negative narrative loops is powerful. You can catch them in their tracks before the downward spiral takes over. From there, you get to make a conscious choice about whether you'll indulge those thoughts or redirect your mind elsewhere. One highly effective technique is to talk to yourself with the same compassion and encouragement you'd use with a dear friend. Ask yourself, would I ever speak those harsh judgments out loud to someone I love? If the answer is no, don't accept them as self-talk either. You deserve to be treated with kindness, especially by yourself. Another powerful practice is relentlessly focusing on solutions rather than problems. When you notice your mind getting hooked on rumination over being mistreated or playing past hurts on a punishing loop, interrupt that cycle by asking yourself, what positive action can I take right now to enforce my boundaries or work through this? Solution-focused questions lead to empowered thinking. You can also make affirming self-talk a regular ritual throughout your day. First thing upon waking, repeat confident mantras that reinforce your worth, capabilities, and vision for your life. You're planting the seeds to grow what you'll eventually reap through experience. Remind yourself daily of the person you're striving to become. Importantly, be aware of disguising insults as self-deprecating humor or keeping it real. Our psyche doesn't fully separate the literal meaning from the cloaked put-downs. If you constantly make jokes about being a loser, failure, or idiot, you'll eventually incarnate those beliefs as your unconscious takes them as the truth. When you actually do err, talk to yourself as a supportive mentor would, focused on growth. This was a learning experience that will make me better next time, is far more productive than shaming yourself as stupid or worthless over a mistake. Additionally, be mindful that negative self-talk often arises from skewed personal rules or unrealistic expectations you've accepted as gospel. If you constantly call yourself lazy for wanting occasional downtime, that's not motivating, it's just cruel. Ease up and give yourself some grace. Controlling the voice in your head is one of the most important forms of self-love and self-care. That narrative shapes your reality and your resilience in the face of life's difficulties. With practice, you can transform that inner speaker into your biggest supporter, constantly boosting your confidence and nudging you towards growth, even through encounters with toxic people. Navigating life's challenges and toxic situations requires a potent mix of self-awareness, emotional mastery, and an empowered mindset. By cultivating skills like boundary setting, forgiveness, solution-focused thinking, and controlling negative self-talk, you can avoid getting entangled in draining dramas and protect your precious energy reserves. It allows you to show up as your highest, most self-centered self, even in the face of toxicity. The path isn't always easy, but the rewards of this inner work are immense: greater authenticity, resilience, and the power to be the author of your own life experience. If you found value in these perspectives, I'd greatly appreciate you liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content on personal growth, emotional intelligence, and leading an extraordinary life.